Hello, vinyl community. Elliot here, Lazy Dogs Records. It's Vinyl Tag 2025 time. Edwin, Pretty Green Vinyl Guy is the name of his channel, has come up with the 20 questions to do for this year's tag. And I thought I would submit mine now. I'll put a link to Edwin's original 2025 vinyl tag video below, so you can watch that and get you started as well if you haven't seen that already. So here we go. There are 20 questions as usual, and the first one is your favorite or your best purchase this year. That would be this. I got this a couple of months ago, and this is a bootleg of Harry Smith's complete anthology of American folk music. Not exactly a bootleg. Doxy, out of either Italy or Russia, I've seen different places noted, put this out, and it is a monumental and extremely important folk box set. I like the way they put the set together here. Originally, it came out on Folkways, Smithsonian Folkways, and in 1952. In individual 2-record sets, and Smithsonian has only put it together in a box as a CD, but there are a couple of unofficial or unauthorized editions of vinyl as a box set for that, and it's got exactly what it says in it, Anthology of American Folk Music. So many folk musicians listened to those records and learned songs from those records and delved deeper into folk music using that as a starting point. So I was so glad to get that on vinyl. Prompt 2 is 50 years later. He wants us to show an album from 1974, and I'll show one that I think is really a classic album, a singer-songwriter album. Jimmy Buffett's A1A came out on ABC Dunhill in 1980. A1A is a highway that runs through Florida, and this was pre-Margaritaville. He was a struggling musician playing clubs and had gotten some recognition up to this point. I was fortunate enough to see him maybe in 75. I wasn't 18 and yet. So it's got some of the classic Buffett songs. It's got A Pirate Looks at 40, really great reflective song. Migration, Trying to Reason with Hurricane Season. Stories We Could Tell. Life is Just a Tire Swing. Really good album from Jim. Chester wanted to come say hey to everybody. Same hey to me mostly, I guess. Yes, I love you, Chester. You're such a good boy. You hadn't made an appearance lately. See how much white Chester's getting in his face? Turn around and look. Number 3 is an album that defines a genre. And that was a no-brainer for me. I knew exactly what to do. After bluegrass, my favorite genre, I'd have to say. And but to pin it down to one album for the great inventor of bluegrass, Bill Monroe, or Flatt and Scruggs, or the Stanley Brothers, is much more difficult because they were coming up. Those early albums or early records were 78s and 45s mostly, and most of the albums were compilations early on. So to go to the second generation, this band and this album in particular by this band served as the blueprint for all the second generation bluegrass bands. And this is J.D. Crowe in the New South. The album generally it's technically called the New South, but generally known among bluegrass fans as 0044, which is the catalog number from Rounder Records. And this has got, of course, on banjo, J.D. Crowe, Tony Rice, the great guitarist, Jerry Sloan on bass. There's J.D. right there, and Ricky Skaggs playing mandolin and fiddle. And not pictured here, Jerry Douglas, but he contributes on the album as well. The album includes a wonderful mixture of traditional and newer compositions, which is kind of the blueprint, like I said, for a lot of artists. Rock, Salt, and Nails is on here. The traditional Sally Gooden and Old Home Place, written by a couple of members of the Dillards. Let's see, 10 Degrees by Gordon Lightfoot. Earl Scruggs' Nashville Blues is on here. Another Gordon Lightfoot is on here, and Ian Tyson, Summer Wages. That became a classic bluegrass song after that first appeared on this album. Number 4 is a band from your home country. I live in the United States, and it's such a vast area. I thought I would narrow it down. And how about an artist or a band from my home county? In North Carolina, I'm in Harnett County, and in eastern Harnett County was a family called the Rays. Link Ray and the Ray Men. Most famous, of course, for the instrumental rumble. And Link Ray is of Native American ancestry. And when he was, I don't know, early teens or maybe even a little earlier than that, they moved from the Dunn area and went up to Maryland, Virginia, Chesapeake Bay area into Maryland, I believe. And number 5, an artist you miss dearly. And for me, that would have to be Dawg and also his son Merle, Dawg and Merle Watson. Miss them dearly. Probably seen Dawg and Merle or just Dawg more than any other artist. I went to college for a few years up in Boone, Watauga County, and Dawg is from Watauga County. While I was up there is when Merle died tragically, very, very young. I think he was probably in his mid-30s. Died tragically in a farming accident. Dawg went on and continued to perform for many years after. Passed away in his 80s. So he lived a long time, but it's never enough. Number 6 is a favorite live album, and that would be this 1975 album from the Seldom Scene, Live at the Cellar Door. Wonderful, wonderful album on Rebel Records, band out of the Maryland area and the greater metropolitan DC area. This is the original lineup on this album. Band still exists today, but most of them have gone on. John Duffy, John Starling, Mike Aldridge, Ben Eldridge, and Tom Gray. There are songs like California Cotton Fields and Muddy Waters and Rawhide, the Bill Monroe instrumental. Bob Dylan's Baby Blue. Small Exception of Me, If I Were a Carpenter. The C&O Canal, written by John Starling, the lead vocalist there. Colorado Turnaround, He Rode All the Way to Texas, also written by John Starling. Number 7 is Show an Album that you would put on when you got home after getting dumped by your girlfriend. And didn't have to think too long about this one. Mo Bandy. Look, see him there. He's at the bar. He didn't go home. He went to the bar. And this is called I'm Sorry for You, My Friend. So appropriate for getting dumped there. It's got that as the first song on there. Let's see. All the Beer and All My Friends Are Gone is another track on here. A 4-letter Fool. Does Fort Worth ever cross your mind? She's everybody's woman. I'm nobody's man. Mo Bandy, by the way, a member of the vinyl community, is cousin of Mo Bandy. Number 8, an album with great, great drumming. Well, as soon as I hear drumming, first person I think of is Art Blakey. Okay, Art Blakey and his band, the Jazz Messengers. This is the big beat, appropriate if you're going to talk about a drummer. This album includes Lee Morgan on trumpet, Wayne Shorter on tenor sax, Bobby Timmons on piano, Jimmy Merritt on bass, and of course Art Blakey on the drums. This is an excellent album. This is one of the reissues, the Blue Note classic vinyl reissues. Can't beat the Jazz Messengers for a great sound. This is one of those play it loud records you can really appreciate. Number 9 is an artist that is played in 2 or more bands. And for that, I picked Bobby Hicks. Bobby Hicks. This is the album, the Bluegrass Album Band. And of course, you see the lineup is a classic lineup. And there's Bobby Hicks. And that band, they put out 5 or 6 albums, and Bobby Hicks played with them and played on 4 of the 5 albums. I think he was probably busy touring with other folks for that last album. And another band he played in was the Ricky Skaggs band. Now, Ricky Skaggs, some of you know Ricky Skaggs, some might not. But when I was in college, he really took off. He had been a traditional bluegrass player. Then he played with Emmylou Harris for a year or two, her hot band. And then he developed a mix. He figured out how to take old honky tonk, old classic country, and a little bit of bluegrass, mix it all together, and you come up with kind of a country rock sound, but not in the sense that you think of country rock bands that we usually use that term. For instance, he played an electric mandolin with that band. I saw the band several times, Ricky Skaggs and his band. Bobby Hicks was the fiddler, and he was with the band for a couple of decades at least. It's after Skaggs had his run on country radio, was getting hit songs, and eventually it got to the point where there wasn't an appeal for his more traditional take on country music. He quit trying to get hit songs. He didn't want to compromise his music, and he went back to mainly doing a bluegrass set, and has done extremely well. Had his own record label and everything like that, and he's still out there touring and doing very well. Bobby Hicks unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, but he had a long run. Now, before those 2 bands, Bobby Hicks was a member for a while in Bill Monroe's Bluegrass Boys, so he's got the pedigree, had the pedigree for being a great fiddler, violinist. Number 10, which is better, the Rolling Stones or the Beatles? I don't play that game. What's the old joke? I'll do the joke. Somebody's probably already done this. Who's better, the Stones or the Beatles? The Kinks. All right, number 11. Edwin says you're walking down the street and you stumble upon a big bag of weed, and you go home and start smoking it. What record do you put on? First, I don't recommend that because you don't know what anybody might have put in that stuff. Secondly, I don't want to get paranoid or anxious, so I don't partake in the weed. But if I had, it's obvious. What would you go to? You would go to the Allman Brothers at Fillmore East. That is the go-to. Hit the bong and put on side 1, Statesboro Blues, Done Somebody Wrong, and Stormy Monday. Hit it a couple of more times, and You Don't Love Me on the entire side 2. On side 3, go to the kitchen, get something to munch on, hit the bong again, and listen to Hot Atlanta and In Memory of Elizabeth Reed. Now, somebody stoned listening In Memory of Elizabeth Reed would be, that'd be some serious business there. And then finally, side 4, hit the bong, and while you listen to Whipping Post. So, the Allman Brothers at Fillmore East. Not much to wonder about what that would be. 1980s album you still listen to. I still listen to Warren Zevon, and this is The Envoy, and this is one I would be listening to. And got the title track, The Overdraft, the Hula Hula Boys. That's a really good one on there. Jesus Mentioned, Let Nothing Come Between You. Ain't That Pretty at All? That's a good one. Charlie's Medicine, Looking for the Next Best Thing, Never Too Late for Love. Number 13, politics have soured you on this artist. I try not to do that unless it's something really, really egregious. I don't let that come into play with my musical listening. But I guess there's some things that bother me, I guess. And I've been reading White Bicycles by Joe Boyd, the producer and music executive. And he handled the Incredible String Band, produced the first few albums, I think, and worked with them. And in reading the book, this is Hard Rope and Silken Twine. In reading the book, I discovered that these members went to the United States tour and fell into Scientology. And that bothers me, because you would think rational people, well, maybe they weren't being rational, maybe they weren't rational people at the time, but you'd think rational people wouldn't fall into a con, L. Ron Hubbard con. But they did stay in it for a number of years. So that kind of turned me off, I guess. Number 14, a favorite record label, and that would be Rounder Records out of Massachusetts. They were a big independent label, very successful, great musical taste. And I really have a lot of and appreciate Rounder Records. Now, eventually, I had to sell out to one of the big conglomerates or whatever, and Universal or somebody. And the imprint is still there. The big label puts out artists on Rounder, like this recent Sierra Farrell record is on Rounder, but it's the big corporation. It's not the little record label in Massachusetts, run by longtime friends. Number 15 is the best 3 single run by an artist. Mid 70s, 67, 68, 69 by Glenn Campbell. He started out with the title track from this album, Gentle on My Mind, written by John Hartford, and followed that with By the Time I Get to Phoenix, followed that with Wichita Lineman, that's 3. But let's keep going. He also followed that with Galveston. Great American pop music. Now they charted on the country charts as well, but really he was really doing pop music, and the Wrecking Crew were the band in most of those, if not all of those recordings. 16, a record store day album that you still listen to. You didn't just buy it, listen to it one time, and put it away. Joni Mitchell Archives Volume 1. Sorry, I still have the shrink wrap on this one. And highlights the early years, 1963 to 1967, taken from coffee house recordings, home recordings. There's even a birthday tape on here. Demos. She does House of the Rising Sun, Pastures of Plenty from Woody Guthrie. The Circle Game from 1966, live at the Second Fret in Philadelphia. Both Sides Now from Philadelphia as well, a radio show in Philadelphia. And she does Chelsea Morning as a home demo. I still listen to this. It's very good. Number 17, if you could be reincarnated as a artist, who would you be reincarnated as? I thought about this a while. Willie Nelson. Why? Uh, Willie's life has been long and adventurous. All the stages he's gone through throughout his life. He's in his 90s now, isn't he? Like 92, something like that, still touring. And he keeps such a positive attitude. So, and he's still got a great head of hair. So you can see, you know. So, Willie Nelson, this is an album that he's only got, like, I think several years ago they added him up, and he had 139 LPs to his name. He's got more than that now because he's done several since then. So he's probably hitting close to 150 actual LPs. Uh, so this some of them get lost, you know, in the shuffle. This is a great LP if you're looking for some Willie and you've got Redheaded Stranger and Stardust and some of the others. This is The Sound in Your Mind. It's with the classic band with Rex, Bobby, Paul, Mickey, B, and Jody. Classic band there. And they do That Lucky Old Sun, If You Got the Money, I've Got the Time, A Penny for Your Thoughts, The Healing Hands of Time, Thanks Again, and I'd Have to Be Crazy. And on side 2, Amazing Grace, The Sound in Your Mind, and a melody of Funny How Time Slips Away, Crazy, and Nightlife. Great album. So I'd come back as Willie. Number 18 is The Best 3 Lines. Oftentimes it's what you most recently listened to, and I just got through listening to the great Guy Clark first album, Old Number One, and there's a song I've always liked in there called "Let 'Em Roll." It's basically about he uh, develops a friendship with an old wino, and goes through his life. And the old wino used to always say, you know, heaven's just a Dallas whore. And he really didn't know what it meant until later. And in the song, he says, one of the these are my 3, but I'm going to read you more than that because I can't just do 3. So he cut through the years to the very night that it ended in a whorehouse fight, and she turned his last proposal down in favor of being a girl about town. So that guy has been an alcoholic, a wino, ever since then because she turned his last proposal down, big fight. He left and just, you know, couldn't live with the fact that he would not have her uh, in his life anymore, that she wouldn't leave the nightlife to become his wife. But in the song, he passes away, and it goes, the welfare people provided the priest, and the couple from the mission down the street sang Amazing Grace, and no one cried, except some lady in black way off to the side. We all left, and she's standing there, black veil covering the silver hair. And old one-eyed John said her name was Alice. She used to be a whore in Dallas. Some lyrics right there, man. Guy Clark could write. Number 19 is an album you never get tired of. Eric Clapton, 461 Ocean Boulevard. This is my favorite album by him. Now, part of it may be when it came out. I believe it was 73 or 74. I was 14, 15 years old, getting into music, listening to different things. And this is just such a laid back, just, I love this album. I've always had it in various forms. This is my original copy from way back when. You can see how good a care I've taken of it. And finally, as is tradition, they asked for a shout out, a VC channel shout out, your favorite VC person. I got a lot of favorites. I like so many people in the VC. So it's just hard to say any one person. But I will mention John at Digital Gramophone. He's just a really nice guy, And he is, every once in a while, I'll message him with a private message on Instagram when I've got some old boomer guy question that I don't understand or something. And he's so nice to respond and help me out. And he does great videos. They're put together real well. It's nice. He's recommended some great music to me as well. And I've picked up several things that he's talked about and told me about. So there we go. Oh, John has a tag. It's not the Vinyl Tag 2025 tag. It's called the Sad Bastard tag that he put out a week or two ago. And if you get a chance, go to that one and do that one as well as this. Edwin, it's been fun completing this, and I'm glad you put this together. And I want to remind everybody, don't sweat small stuff, people. Be kind to your neighbors because, folks, we are all neighbors.